from. And we are getting set up on YouTube and Xiaotong. So welcome everybody. I'm going to give people a second here to log in. I see participants adding up here. Let me go ahead and get our screen shared. There we go. Okay. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us once again for Tuesday Talks. And we're once again very thrilled to have some really great guests today, both admissions officers and alumni. That's special for Tuesday Talks. Just a few little nuts and bolts. If you need Chinese support, if you need some Chinese translation, we are on Xiaotong, so make sure you go there. And if you need Korean translation or some Korean support, you can go to YouTube and find us there as well. So feel free to type in the chat if you're not sure where to go, and I'll send the appropriate links. And we are going to be playing Spot Mr. View once again for those of you who have been participating in Tuesday Talks. You know what I'm talking about. There will be somebody in a costume next to me at some point. Make sure you take a screenshot and email us. And the first 3 people who email us will win a t-shirt. Yay. And so I just want to take a moment and say once again, thank you to all of the partner high schools. You all are the reason why Tuesday Talks keeps going. Thank you so much for inviting your friends, telling your other parent friends, counselors. Thank you for sharing the information with your students. It's really great. And we have partner schools from, multiple countries. So thank you so much for supporting us in this time. And this week's Tuesday Talks is brought to you by High Fives. And I think many of you have been hearing about High Fives for the last few months. This is the time. It's time to start thinking about who to give your high fives to. There are more than 60, almost 70 institutions that you can high five. And it's not scary. It's not meant to be scary. These admissions officers, they just want to know if you're interested in their school because they want to give you better, helpful information beyond Tuesday Talks. So make sure you take a look at your portals so that you can give a high five. So without further ado, I just want to say we want to answer questions. The admissions officers want to answer questions. Alumni want to answer questions. So if you have questions, go ahead and start asking them as you listen, as they come up in the Q&A box. For people on YouTube, you can chat there. For people on Xiaotong, you can chat there as well. And then that way we can kind of try to consolidate some of the questions and get to as many as possible. Okay, so once again, thank you so much, Claremont McKenna, Davidson, Middlebury. We're so happy to have you here today. And I'll let you guys start to introduce yourself. So, but as you're introducing yourself, let me make sure that these slides are working. Yeah, if you guys want to first start introducing yourself, and I'll get the PowerPoint up.
Okay. Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Jennifer Hirsch, and I work at Claremont McKenna College in Claremont, California.
Hello, thanks for being here this evening. My name is Kaylani Lofna. I'm from Davidson College. I'm the Director of International Admission and Financial Aid.
And hello, I'm Karen Bartlett from Middlebury College in Middlebury, Vermont. I'm the Associate Director of International Admissions here. We're really excited to have alumni from each of our institutions here to give you a little bit of the background of what it's like to be a student, what it's like to network. And so maybe we can have each of the alumni here introduce themselves. So Miko, do you want to start?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Miko Dai, and I recently graduated from Middlebury last year. I'm currently working at the Jackson Laboratory in Maine as a research assistant / postbac researcher. And I'm very happy to be here and share my experience.
I can go next. Hi, everyone. I'm Preksha. I graduated class of 2018. I majored in economics and minored in dance. I currently work as a senior data engineer at a software company in based in New York City, not currently in New York City, but very excited to be here as well.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. My name is Varun. I graduated from CMC in 2016. I'm currently a product manager at Google X. I'm here because obviously I'm really passionate about CMC, but I'm also excited to see how we can use tech to help students across the world improve their public speaking. So if anyone's got nervous about that, it's a chat. I'm spending far too much time thinking about it, and hopefully we can go back and forth on that a little bit.
All right, thank you, everyone. So we're going to start off our presentation, the admission officers, going through a few phases of your college experience and the importance and the power of networking as you move through. So I'm going to start with a few minutes on networking during your college search, and my colleagues will move on to different phases in college and after college. So right now, you are currently in the process of figuring out where you want to apply for college, looking at schools that are going to be good fits for you. So we want to give you some tips on how to get to dive a little more in depth into the colleges that you're most interested in, and really with the goal of getting an authentic and genuine view of the institution. You're probably in the phase where you're looking at the website, you're attending events that the admission office is hosting. And of course, these are excellent options, but you are getting a view of how we want to present ourselves. And we give you an authentic view, but there's something different about talking to people who've lived the experience, such as our alums or those that are currently living the experience. And that includes faculty and staff members, along with, of course, our students. So using your network to be able to do that. So two probably most important ways to start digging deeper is connecting with our offices, asking the admission officers who you can speak to that goes beyond our office. We have a huge networks of current students and alumni that are eager to speak with prospective students looking at our colleges. So connecting with us and saying, I'm giving a brief introduction and saying I'm interested in knowing a little bit more in depth on certain majors or certain aspects of the college experience, maybe pertaining particularly to your situation, the country you're coming from, maybe the activities you're interested in pursuing, thinking about the goals you have in college, and giving us some specific information on what in-depth aspects of the college you want to know, because we know what our students are doing, what our faculty do, and we can put you in touch with people who can speak directly to the experience that you're hoping to gain a little more insight. So that, again, reaching out, knowing the questions to ask, really giving yourself the opportunity to think deeply about what you want to know about the college. Another important way is connecting with your network. So asking your friends, asking your parents' friends, asking people around you, teachers, counselors, do they know people that have attended this school? You may know someone that has attended this school, people who have graduated from your high school, friends of siblings. Don't be afraid to put those questions out there in your own networks, because getting in touch with people who who maybe have come from your area, your community, who've attended that college, can speak to some of those unique transitions and aspects that you might experience as a student coming to the United States, coming to our states, our colleges, our communities, and can give you some of that really important information. And then the last piece is a little more passive, but equally important, in connecting with some of the primary sources on the internet from us. So thinking about social media, publications, websites that go beyond the main college website. The important thing, though, is finding primary sources. So things that are created by our students, even by our departments, faculty departments, different like academic departments or student services departments. But probably most importantly, my colleagues in the Alumni probably agree that student-run social media, newspapers, club websites. Those platforms are really going to give you sort of the insight into what students are doing with the activities they're involved in, how they present the college. And that's going to be really important. And a last final caveat is you will get a lot of perspectives. So take them all in and sort through them and how their importance to you. But it is going to be really important to think about the positive and the negative that you get and what all of that really means to you in your college experience. So I will pass it along to my colleague, Kaylani. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Jen. So now you've landed at college. You know, liberal arts colleges range from 500 in the overall total population to maybe 3,000. And while that might seem like a smaller number than some schools with 50,000, it's the nature of the relationships that are formed while at our colleges that create such a tight network that you'll have those relationships through your 4 years and well beyond. And that's a big part of your network. And it might not feel like you're creating your network when you join a club or organization, but every single person you meet just creates more opportunities as you think down the road. I was at a gathering last night. It's graduation day here at Davidson for class of 2021. And one of the students I was talking to is graduating. His job is through the father of one of his good friends at Davidson. So there is a great connection where, because the father happened to be in the industry of his best friend, it worked out for a job. And so those are the types of relationships that are built, and it becomes family-like and very close-knit. It's a type of place where if you're sitting at an airport, you know, in Shanghai, and someone has a Middlebury hat on, they're going to run across that airport to find you, right? Or Miko's sweatshirt. That's the liberal arts, right? You're not going to find that at a place of 50,000 students where they'll run across the airport to introduce themselves, because the likelihood of having connections that match is a lot less likely than at a place like a Middlebury, Davidson, in Claremont McKenna, or other liberal arts colleges. So join those clubs and organizations. That's the reason we admit you to our schools, is because we really want you to be a product of the overall community. We're looking for community members as well as students who will be strong in the classroom. Get to know your professors. That professor might be the person who connects you for your first research project or internship. Speak up in class, attend office hours. We hold more office hours than you'll be able to attend, and there's a reason for that. Our professors want to get to know you. Seek out those opportunities. Get a job on campus. That mentor might be the person who ends up writing a letter of recommendation for graduate school. Volunteer in the local community. And make a point of getting to know people. Join a club that maybe you didn't have at your high school, or that you never thought you would join, because it's something different. And then you'll meet different people with other interests or similar interests to you, or you might end up having a new hobby, right, because of it. And tap into the alumni network. Throughout your time at our schools, we'll have alumni networking events. Often they're held through the Career Development Office, because we want to make sure that you know alumni who are working in a wide variety of different industries. You know, they come to those events because they love their alma mater where you're a current student, and they want to support the students who are going to their alma mater. And you'll find that at liberal arts colleges. There's this deep sense of connection to place that lasts throughout your entire life. You know, example right here, we have 3 alums who are excited to be on this panel because they loved their time there and want to, you know, kind of help share that experience so others can have a similar experience. So you will be building that network during your time, even if you don't think about it in that way. It's just a natural build of network as then you think about your life beyond your time at college.
Great. So what do you do with your network after college? You know, we all know that the world is changing fast. You may have a profession that shifts over time, or you may decide to change careers. Or you're coming back to a country where you haven't lived for 4 years, and you need to tap back into those networks in order to get a job. So these are what we sort of focus on after college, is using that network that you've developed at our institutions. So our alumni offices do a great job of keeping track of alumni all over the world. In many cases, they create or sort of facilitate local alumni associations. And so it's quite possible in the cities that you're moving back to, there's already sort of a network that you can tap into. You'll likely use social media, WeChat, WhatsApp, things like that in order to stay in touch with those groups. And be sure to give back when you're an alum. Remember how many times you've benefited from talking to older alums. So it's important to sort of give back as well. And you never know when that might lead to more opportunities as well. And then finally, stay in touch with your college friends. It's easy to sort of lose touch as you go through life and move around the world. But again, you know, staying in touch with people around the world is really important and can help you in ways that you can't foresee at this point. So the next slide is some examples of ways that our colleges have started to make this really user-friendly and available for all of our students. So in the last 10 years, I would say Middlebury's put a lot of money into sort of developing the ways which students can network. And you can see this, these are screenshots from our alumni database that you have access to as soon as you're a student at Middlebury. We've got the Middlebury Connect, and you can see all this, you know, just a sampling of the alumni that have put their contact information available. You can sort by major, by location, by industry. We've got mentoring programs. We've got something called mid-gigs, which is sort of short-term employment. If you want to try out a gig during a month that you have free from college, discussion, resources, there's all kinds of ways to use these networks. The next slide also just shows you sort of some of the social networking that you might see through our colleges. All of these liberal arts colleges are going to have groups that sort of stay connected and do interesting things together, whether in person or online. The first sort of screenshot here is from the Middlebury International Student Organization, a really great way to network with international students from around the world. They do events here on campus, but they also stay connected after they've graduated. The second shot is from the WeChat Shanghai group. And, you know, there's 126 people already there and sort of willing and excited to meet you if you happen to be coming back to Shanghai after you graduate. And then just a fun example, the third screenshot is from a WeChat group that I bumped into in Nairobi. So, you know, they've got 34 members in the city of Nairobi. So, I mean, it's a wide-ranging networking opportunity no matter where you end up in the world. So we're going to give you some examples of how Davidson does some really cool job shadowing programs.
Yep, and I think you'll find this at all three of our schools or a version of something like this. We offer job shadowing for students of any age, really, right? You could start this in your first year. It often happens either in December or it might be over spring break or some of the breaks, but it's a few days to shadow a Davidson alum, to get to know the industry, to sit in on meetings, to access information and meetings that you wouldn't otherwise have access to. So as you see, we've had some job shadowing with doctors, you know, New York Stock Exchange, you know, Preksha's actually in this photo over here in the first one during a job shadowing opportunity that she had. But this is just an externship program that allows you to get to know industries, to say, maybe this isn't what I thought it was, or this is really exciting. And now you have a contact in that industry as you navigate your own path to getting your internship or job or whatever it may be as you continue from Davidson. So that's just one example of the different types of networking opportunities that we provide to students, and will continue to grow as our network, you know, globally increases around the world to offer internship opportunities elsewhere.
So another example, at CMC and at other colleges, our career offices are coordinating networking trips. Here at CMC, we call them networking treks. These are experiential trips that are focused on an industry center. So here's a couple examples of one virtual as well. We certainly will maintain or have maintained through the pandemic and look forward to our in-person trips again. But the goal of these are to give students an opportunity to speak with industry leaders across many different companies, and specifically connecting with alumni in those industries in the various companies. So the structure of these, they're going to take place usually over college breaks. So things like fall break, winter break, spring break, those are pretty standard amongst our colleges, but some variance there. Visiting with 2 to 5 organizations in a day. So you've got, 3 to 5 days, you've got multiple organizations, you're looking at 15, 20 companies that you're connecting with, and getting a sense of the various jobs and roles you can have within companies in the industries, talking to people who've made their careers in those industries, and really getting an in-depth sense of if this is a good path for you. So a lot of times these trips are going to be focused on first and second years, but definitely open to juniors. And the goal is by your junior and senior year, you've really been able to gather that in-depth information through the job shadowing, through the networking tracks, to start guiding your internship searches and then ultimately your job search. So we're going to give you as much access and resources for you to really build those networks and find the right path for you.
So Jen, maybe we want to go in alphabetical order here. Do you want to talk about some networking?
Yes, so at CMC, yes. So I'll invite Varun back.
Hello.
Hi. Yes, so at CMC, Varun, if you could give us a sense of how you networked as you were exiting CMC sort of upon graduation, and now, 5 years later, how the CMC network has helped you in your career path so far.
Yeah, for sure. And clearly I'm very, very excited about CMC. So I'm biased, but I'd say most people share my vantage point. So while at college, CMC was instrumental in getting me every internship. For me, it was really tricky given my H-1B credentials. I grew up in India. To Kaylani's point, my freshman year, everyone in the US was finding internships and I was kind of panicking. The person who runs Infosys, which is one of the largest tech companies in India, his daughter had graduated from CMC a few years ago. A professor put me in touch with the daughter, and they helped me get my freshman year internship at this big tech company in India, where all of the other interns were way, way, way older than me. But because of the CMC connection, someone was willing to bat for me. And that's what really got me excited about tech on day one. Infosys paid for me to get on a flight back to India and then gave me this super summer experience, which was great. And then the year after that, I worked at a company called Intuit, which does finance software up in Silicon Valley. The way I got in touch with them was they actually came to campus, had a little case competition where students could pitch their ideas. And through this, we won, the little idea jam and ended up getting an internship for my sophomore summer, which was again a lot of fun because places like Intuit typically give you junior year summers. And then again through CMC for my junior year, an alumni on the Google shopping team reached out saying, "Hey, we're looking for folks. Would you like to interview?" Ended up doing the internship. The internship converted into a full-time role. And I'm currently at Google X, which is a sister company to Google, where we are Google X works on a lot of early stage innovation. A lot of this is pie in the sky and makes us sound like fools, but if it works, it could be pretty cool. So things such as the self-driving car project and drones for delivery and robotics. And what's been interesting for me is, look, I'm by no means a PhD engineer. I'm a good econ student who graduated from CMC, but I think all of the connections I got during my college days, the ability to talk to people, like look them in the eye point blank, hopefully not look this ridiculous, has been really helpful. And quite frankly, shamelessly, and the reason I'm also here at Subways is I've decided, look, I've always wanted to start my own company. If I don't do it in my 20s, like shame on me. And now I'm back to network even more on the other side of the aisle. So I've told Google X that I'm on my way out, and I'm trying to start a company to help students across the world, especially in China, improve their oral communication skills using some new cutting-edge AI technology. So again, shameless plug. I think one thing that Jen said you've got to do is, if you're networking, advocate for yourself when you're a student looking for a job. I think this also applies when you're an alumni trying to figure out, users to test with and a client base. So in that vein, look, if anybody's nervous about oral communication or public speaking or the speech version of Grammarly, please reach out to me. I'm desperately trying to tap into communities across the world. I'm happy to give you, a free guidance session or whatever, but then I'd love to have you beta test and demo our platform and help us do magical things. I'm starting my own company. I'm excited and simultaneously petrified. And like CMC's been with me through and through. I'll stop there. I'm getting too shameless now.
Thanks, Varun.
All right, I'm going to ask Preksha to talk about her time at Davidson, and then also just different, experiences you had and how your network helped you to have those experiences.
Thanks, Keelani. Really interesting kind of hearing, Varun, your experience, because so much of it resonates with me as well. So I'll kind of start in the beginning. As Jennifer mentioned, my kind of Davidson, like the support system started to build even before I arrived at Davidson. So I'm from India as well. I grew up in India, in Calcutta. I reached out to some, high school friends, family who had attended Davidson kind of 25, 30 years ago. And they very generously kind of invited me over to lunch, and we sat down and kind of talked about Davidson for a long time. And that's what helped me decide. And then, as soon as I arrived, kind of everything that Keelani pointed out, from clubs, organizations, sitting in the classroom with professors, office hours, everything kind of helped get me to the different stages throughout my 4 years. It was a friend's parent who worked at kind of a company that I was interested in. They helped me get my first internship in Chicago. When I arrived there, again, they were sort of like host parents to me. My first year, the summer after my first year at Davidson, I received a grant to go research, to kind of study dance. I was always very interested in dance studies and never kind of had the opportunity to do that in India. At Davidson, I had ample kind of, everyone loved the idea that I wanted to kind of, study economics, but also dance. And so, I researched, I kind of went to Maine. I attended the Bates Dance Festival, kind of traveled in New York City that first summer. And the following summer, another alum had kind of made a contribution to Davidson, again, towards arts research. And through that grant, I traveled to Greece, and I studied how the economic crisis in Greece was impacting the arts community there. So that was the summer after my sophomore year. Then junior year, again, the Chicago internship, that was also thanks to Davidson connection. And then finally, my current job at Treseda, again, I would have not found the company had it not been for Davidson. Davidson has very strong ties with my company, given that they're based in Charlotte in North Carolina. And so I kind of got in touch with some kind of current team members at work that at the time were kind of reaching out and recruiting for the company. And I'm really glad that I kind of ended up here. I do not have a background in computer science. I did not think I would end up in tech. But I love data, and I loved kind of the idea of technology. And my Davidson connections, my network helped, like people were so willing to kind of accept that. My economics background, my background in dance, which has nothing to do with technology. And those conversations helped me kind of pulled me in this direction. And I'm so kind of grateful for that, because my next step now, this fall, I'm going back to school for, to study information systems and urban technology. And it took me a really long time to get there. I knew I wanted to go back to school, but it was not, I just didn't know for what. And again, kind of rounding back to professors and the support system at Davidson, they have been instrumental in kind of helping me arrive at this decision. And, my economics professor, two of my economics professors kind of wrote recommendation letters for me for college, not once, not twice, but 3 times, because that's how many times I decided to apply to grad school and then kind of, wasn't sure. So decided to continue working. So I can't speak enough for the support system at Davidson, and whether it's professors, classmates, friends, it's been absolutely instrumental really in getting me where I am. And then kind of finally, I'll just touch on the networking community and the alumni network in New York City at Davidson. Kehlani and I were chatting, and she reminded me about kind of the strong chapter in New York City. Being far from home is really difficult. I'm especially this past year has been a reminder of that. And so one thing that I'm really grateful for from Davidson is kind of the support system, even in a massive city like New York, where you kind of have those that kind of string that ties you together, whether it's someone that graduated in 2000 or 19, it doesn't matter. You have that common thread that kind of brings you together, and that's really special. And I appreciate having that in New York City as well.
Thanks, Preksha. Okay, Miko, maybe you can tell us about your sort of networking during and now a little bit after Middlebury.
Yeah, sure. I can't tell you how much I relate to what Preksha has been saying about just having the sense of community in liberal arts college, which I think is most valuable about going into such a small school so that you have a sense of belonging. So I actually grew up in Shanghai, China, and I went to national curriculum school. So I never went into international school, but I also came from a school that has a really strong network. And we just happened to have one single student going to Middlebury every 4 years. So we'd never overlap with each other. But when my senior heard that I'm going to Middlebury, she actually reached out to me saying that, hey, I want to talk about this is what living in Vermont is like, and this is what you can do after you arrive. And I think that's being really powerful. You come from this small community and you really just want to help out and want to share your experience with whoever is coming after you. And you want them to have fun at the school and have the same excellent experience you had as well. So that was me before I even go into Middlebury. And I'm going to say, I don't know how this happened. I never thought about myself actively networking. For me, it was more of I was thinking of making friends, of getting to know people. And I love going to professors' office hour because I want to talk to them because they have these amazing research going on. So this is sort of a long story, but I'm going to tell you from the beginning how I ended up in this lab that I interned for during college, which eventually got me land in this job currently. So I was talking to a bunch of friends and seniors I know who majored in molecular biology and biochemistry. But then I made this friend through taking Japanese class, and she happened to be majoring in neuroscience. And then I was talking to her and helping her out with her thesis because she wanted to run through the presentation a few times before she do the actual thesis defense. And then I was listening to it a couple of times. It's this sounds really interesting. And this is something I'm interested in doing, not necessarily studying, using neuroscience methods, studying neuroscience, but something genetics, genomics. So what I ended up doing is I was looking for a research opportunity at my school at that moment. I was a sophomore. So I talked to her and she's like, yeah, I think you'll be a great fit in our lab. We also have MBB major students in our lab as well. So before I even got to talk to the professor who was the PI of that lab, she talked to the PI and said so many good words about me. And so I emailed the professor with my transcripts and I was like, I'm really interested in your research. I really want to join. And I went to her office and I was expecting way more process of oh, she's going to ask me about all these neuroscience knowledge that I have no idea about. So I was not giving it much hope, but then I went into her office and she's like, yeah, Jenny says so much good things about you. You can come join my lab. And then I was in 5 minutes later. And what was even more magical after that is I stayed at that lab for a summer internship through my junior to senior year summer. And it was like building really good relationship with my professor and putting more time into the research. And I ended up doing senior research with her. We were still working on a paper together, which is great for an undergrad in terms of if you want to stay in academia, having just first author paper, just so powerful as an undergraduate student. And when I was looking for a job in the middle of pandemic last year, everything was shut down, students were sent home, like, oh my God, there's no way I can land on a job right now. It's going to be super difficult. So I was getting myself really mentally prepared and sending out my CVs and my resume to like all these different places. And then I went into my professor's office. It was just before the pandemic shut down, but we all knew it was coming. And I went into her office and she's like, yeah, how's it going with job search? I got this email from Jax, this PI, and she emailed me about your job application. And my professor just told me they already talked about me because they knew each other. And it was like, no way, I didn't know that you guys know each other. So I basically got the job offer even during the interview. Like everyone in the lab was interviewing me, knowing that I would be joining this lab at my current job. So that was something really magical for me, at least. And I didn't even think about it as networking, but just building really good relationship with people you know, and that would just very naturally lead you to the next step. And I just can't stop talking about how supportive Middlebury as a community is. And I'm sure that's the same experience for all of the liberal arts college since we're such a small community.
This has been a wonderful conversation. I love hearing from alumni, and I personally also went to a liberal arts college, and I think there's so many benefits about liberal arts colleges and the community. I mean, I was just talking to a friend yesterday about how the reason why I decided to go to the college I went to was because at the end of the day, I talked to a junior, a current junior at the time when I was still a senior in high school. And she's the one who kind of convinced me. I had all these other voices telling me what to do and why I should pick something. But her experience, and we somehow just made this connection, right? And as soon as I got to campus, she was the first person that I looked for, and she brought me into her friend groups, and I joined almost every organization she was in just because we had so much not in common. We're actually very, very different people, but like these common passions or things that were important to us. So I want to, because a lot of the people in the audience, they're still kind of shaping their college list and they're really thinking about, so if any of you wanted to kind of give a little bit of color of like when you were deciding, Miko, you shared about, the Shanghai Middlebury student reaching out to you. That was great. But any other things that maybe if you were doing it again, you would have tried to, ask a certain type of question, or what would you have done to kind of make it so that you could take advantage of the current students that were on campus?
I'm happy to go first. I think one thing a lot of folks do, and I've seen this, during my time at Google, when people reach out, is they reach out so obviously trying to like get some kind of transactional assistance. Hi, help me out, I'm stuck. And of course, as alumni, we're happy to help you out, but mostly it's in good faith. Look, you're a struggling student. I was in your shoes. Like, just be a cool person and try to become friends with me and I will help you out. Like, don't try and play this schmoozy game where you come to me with 3 prepared questions. And at the end of it, you strategically ask me for your intro. Like the moment you message me, I know you want the referral. Like, be cool about it. Be like a fun person I want to grab drinks with. And regardless of whether you schmooze or not, I will help you out. And yeah, that's just my sense of be cool.
I think that's, I'll say I was more on the other side where I was reaching out to alums more than I have had people reach out to me. Maybe that's just because I'm, still like not, hasn't been that long. But yeah, I mean, I think one of the really great things, one of the things that convinced me to come was also, talking to the family and talking to the people that had been to Davidson. And like I had never decided to kind of come this far away from home. So it was really terrifying. So I would have not done it had it not been for them, and had it not been for kind of their hearing about their experiences and just how much they received from their liberal arts education. So that really was very, very helpful in helping me make this decision. I also had people, like Nico said, kind of reach out from Davidson. So right after I, got accepted, I had people from the dance company reach out. I had some like people, they knew my interests, and there were people from like various organizations reach out to me and kind of tell me about a little bit about their clubs or organizations and just what they had to offer. And that was a huge draw. I was surprised that they'd be interested in someone sitting in, so many thousands of miles away, and that they knew about my interests. And that was kind of amazing to me, just kind of that initiative that individual like students were taking to kind of reach out and make that connection. And, something that I've tried to give back as well. And I think as Kaylani and Jennifer and everybody mentioned, that stays with you. It's kind of a lifelong connection, right? Like I've felt compelled to kind of give back because I've received so much from Davidson. And so every time I get a message from Kaylani, there's someone interested in your city from your school, will you reach out to them? I jump at the opportunity because I love doing it now.
Yeah, I think what I would add in terms of looking at colleges, adding to your college list, what to consider when you think about going to a specific school, because I went through this relatively recently. It's still very vivid of going through all that SAT test that I had never wanted to go through again. I would say that one thing you can do in terms of academics is there are a lot of resources on the website of each school. So our currently enrolled students also use the same resource. We go to the same website as you guys. Like you can just see what courses are listed and who will be teaching it and what professor, what is their expertise. And you can sort of have an idea of how you want to shape your major even before you come to your undergrad school. And that's what I did. And when I was looking at Middlebury's curriculum that we offer, I was like, this is cool. I have to go there. I can study language, I can study music, and I can also do biology. We look like we have a really rigorous curriculum. I'm sure I can succeed there. So that's one advice I would give in terms of what to consider for academics. Well, one thing I wish I did when I was applying is to talk to more people about the actual living experience, what you're actually doing during the weekend and how do you spend your time. And because I just had no idea or no expectation at all going into Vermont and in Middlebury, which is sort of a college town, because I grew up in Shanghai, I was like, oh, you gotta be kidding me. Everywhere has to have public transportation. Now here I am, in a bit of Maine, we literally have no public transportation. So you need to talk to people about what the experience is really like. And I think recently a lot more schools or just enrolled students have been more active on social media, which is something we didn't have 4 or 5 years back ago. You can just go on YouTube and search, just type in the school you're interested in. There will be students who upload their YouTube video, talk about what is the experience studying in the school, or oh, how do I unpack or move in for my semester? So you can actually get a view of, okay, this is what a dorm room look like, and this is what the cafeteria look like. Yeah. And I think another important thing is just to ask, because everyone's their experience are so different from each other. I apparently overwork myself, and I'm a workaholic and take way too many classes and way too many discipline. So I wouldn't spend my time like skiing a lot or snowboarding, even though I really, really wanted. Just a plug here, we have ski and snowboard. You can literally take the school bus during the winter, which we have a J term. You literally take one class and you can just enjoy your life, learn these winter sports. But what I think is important is just talk to a lot more people and figure out what are the possibilities you can do and explore. And also don't be afraid to sort of create new opportunities for yourself, because now you're in this amazing community, you have all these connections. If you want to make something happen, you could. Like, don't be afraid of going into something, oh, there isn't so much of a strong international community, which I'm sure is not the case for all of the school here, but you can definitely go in and start creating things on your own, which is, I think, and you will be having great support system from the school and from the alumni and from the students and professor, and I'm sure you'll be able to achieve that.
Wonderful. This is all really good advice. And I would just add that I think like a lot of when you're in high school, you kind of listen a lot. You wait for information to come to you. But as you grow, you want to start asking lots of questions to get stuff, because there's a lot of people and a lot of information is always coming at you, and you could just sit there and be consuming it. But if you want to really make something happen, you actually have to ask questions. And no question is like too simple or too, stupid or whatnot. I think, like, as all of these mentioned, like, it could be really, really basic, but it's the entry point. And what I love about you all is that you all have very different stories, actually, and that you have very different interests. And the wonderful thing about liberal arts is that you can actually explore many of those interests and make it into one. And so just another encouragement to everybody listening, that you don't have to be a certain bubbly personality or a very introverted person, or that doesn't dictate your networking ability. That all it takes is just a little bit of courage to ask that first question. I would say the same thing for, once you get there, joining a club, once you get there, going to office hours, like, even if you don't really have a very clear question, to just go is the first step. So I want to open it up to other questions that students might have or parents might have. And this could be for admissions officers or for alumni, and it can be about networking specifically, or could it just be about college search in general? So ask the question, go ahead and type in now what questions you might have. And I'm just checking on the other platforms to see if there are any questions yet. I would want to start with a question about, Nico mentioned, being able to kind of find information about academics on websites. Is there, for the admissions officers, is there a good way for students to be asking to be connected with faculty? Is that something you all offer?
I think this is probably common to all of our schools, but professors love to connect. At this time, just be conscious that at certain times of year, they're incredibly busy, like right now. They're grading theses and, finishing up the academic year, but in general, they love to connect with prospective students. And so feel free to send an email to them directly. Their, contact information is on all of our websites. It may not be, a response within 24 hours.
Yes. And I'll just add, as in the admission office, if you're not sure where to start with us. You can just send the admission office an email. Again, a little bit about what you're trying to find, and we can direct you either to a website to find email addresses of faculty, or sometimes we have faculty that we tend to send students to directly. So
And remember, we talked about a couple weeks ago, upgrading your questions. And so make sure you give some details, like especially because instead of just, do you offer biology, because you can find that on the website, but, you know, asking about a specific type of research, or, you know, a certain kind of, you know, a question about how to get involved in something academic that's not necessarily a class, something like that.
And I posted a link, and I think all of us have this. Karen mentioned it. Asking students, current students, we hire current students to work in our office, and each one of our schools has a link like the one I posted, where you'll see the majors of these current students, what they're involved in, and their direct email address. And they're happy to speak with you. And often that will change. In June, we'll start having our summer ambassadors. And then again in September, that'll switch to senior fellows. So just find those links on our websites and bookmark them, or put them in your Google Doc, however you're organizing your search, and then go back to them. But that should be a first resource in addition to us as your admission officers.
Thank you for that link. That's great. Anything tangible that we can grab is so good. Great. Well, for the alumni, just things you all shared about these great moments of your first year. And so since these students are still quite young, what is something that you wish you had done your first year that you didn't do, but now that you're out of school, you're like, oh, I could have done that. I could have leveraged that better. Or you're like, no, we did a great job, which is also.
No, I think it's the opposite way. I think we're just all thinking about all the things we didn't do and we wished we did. And it's like, okay, which one do I start with? So I think personally for me, I wish I had been more active in terms of trying out things that is out of my comfort zone, and being in more clubs and get to know more people. So I kind of warm up to people slowly, which is why I make friends in language classes, because you literally go through all 4 years with them. But I wish I had been more active during biology labs and like make friends with people who like sit next to me every single time during a lecture. And I can keep going, but I'll let other people chime in.
I think something that, and I had to think hard a little bit, but I would say one thing that I tried to do, I think the second semester of my freshman year, was just kind of pack in my major classes, like requirements. I don't know what I was thinking, but I really wanted to kind of, you know, knock out these classes. And I wish someone had stopped me, because I just kind of, I wasn't miserable, but it was definitely, I would not recommend it. I think I just like wanted to do that and then enjoy the rest of my time, like junior, senior year, which, you know, I did, like, it helped in some capacity, but I don't do it. Just don't do it. And another thing that kind of came to mind is that, you know, at Davidson, we're such a small class that I kind of, you know, fell into a friend group, or like some friend groups like very early on. So, you know, freshman fall, I kind of found my people. And then, you know, the kind of following semesters, I kind of stuck with those friend groups. And I wish I had branched out a little bit more, because I think I would have like gained so much from branching out a little bit more. So I think kind of along the lines of getting out of your comfort zone a little bit. I really found those groups of people, the bubbles within the bubble of liberal arts and Davidson. And if I could change something, I think that would be it.
Yeah, I mean, I'd echo both of those sentiments. I think also for me, coming in freshman year, I was just so stressed out, right? Nobody in India, not too many people in India had heard of Claremont McKenna. So I just had all of this pressure to constantly prove myself. So I was like, I've got to get really good grades and I've got to take the right classes. And I think I lost the forest from the trees a little bit, especially my early years in college. I tried to take the safe classes so I could get the good grades and, you know, so I could get into clubs. And like looking back, I wish I had taken more computer science classes. I didn't have guts to because I knew it would tank my GPA, but well, I'm now struggling because of that. So yeah, don't put like, and I know a lot of my immigrant friends were in the same boat, right? Like we've come in and we've been told grades are everything, and if you don't, get whatever a 4.0 or something close, you're not doing well, and you've got to, make family proud and whatnot. And I got way too deep in my head. It doesn't even matter, and I ended up having a lot more fun, a little too much fun my junior and senior year to overcompensate.
Well, at InitialView, we always say life is not a test. And so, yeah, like doing something not for the grade, but actually for the experience and learning from that. And so thank you for sharing that, Varun. Well, so we actually only have a little bit of time left, and I wanted to ask the admissions officers, like we like to have a little bit of kind of homework for Tuesday Talk. And so like based on kind of what we talked about today, what would be a takeaway that you would want the audience to have today? One thing to do this week or next week or as they go through their application process.
First, I'm going to jump in and thank Miko because I know she has a 9 a.m. commitment and I'll let her go. But thanks so much, Miko. And my homework for all of you students, and I have an 11th grader too. So she's being kind of shy about reaching out to alumni or students at the schools that she's looking at. So I'm going to give you the assignment that this week you should at least reach out to 1 or 2 students at the schools that are on your list right now, just to start the conversation and get over the nerves of sort of reaching out to a stranger.
Oh, that's great homework. I was thinking along that lines. Preksha, same thing. I know you have work starting, or you probably passed the start time. So thank you for being here, and know that we're always happy to be in touch with you, Preksha and I, for the attendees here. So thanks, Preksha. Oh gosh, Karen grabbed a good one, right? I hope this makes you realize that we have a lot of really approachable people who want to be in touch with you. It's one thing to research a website and take the tour, right? The virtual tour, but it's one thing to sign up for one of our information sessions or a virtual tour that's actually led by current students, because then the college comes to life. And then you start that network, right? The current students who are leading that virtual tour all of a sudden become a contact for you. And then they might introduce you to a friend, and that's another contact. So I would say, in addition to reaching out to current students, which we make really easy in our admission offices and on our websites, sign up for a tour, sign up for an information session, because many of our schools, Davidson is one, we track demonstrated interest. If you formally sign up, you're here today, that's demonstrated interest. But if you sign up for one of our information sessions, you jump on a virtual tour, if you apply, that becomes part of our narrative. And then as we're talking about you as an applicant, yeah, the student's been in touch. The student signed up for one of our tours. So there's the sign up piece, and then show up, right? You sign up and don't show up, there's a big no show on your record. So do the sign up and then show up. So that's would be my advice on this.
Good advice. Yes, and Varun, thank you so much. We're so glad you've been here and all the insight. This is awesome. We learn a lot too, hearing from our alums. It's wonderful. So my homework is I'll pull a little bit from my first slide. I'll say, go, if you haven't already, I encourage you to find the student-run social media page, something of sorts in your platform of choosing from our schools. But do that digging and find out if they're student run. I know CMC, our CMC admission is a student run Instagram account, and it's all, managed and curated by our students. And with that extra step, along with networking, maybe reach out, DM maybe, which I have also never done, but I know it's a thing. So reach out to the folks on the that are running that, because again, those are students. Another way to connect, which you all are probably more familiar with. So I encourage you to do that.
Wonderful. Well, Varun also left his contact information if people want to contact him as well. And you all know how to get in touch. And you will have an opportunity. Some of the homework here was like being brave to engage. And one of the brave ways to engage is giving a high five. So don't forget to do that this week. Once again, Karen, Jen, Kaylani, it's always a real pleasure to do webinars with you. Thank you so much for joining us, and for everybody, thank you once again for joining us for Tuesday Talks. We will see you again next week.